Welcome to Mayfidav TV. You are highly welcomed. Please kindly subscribe, like, and share this video. Thank you. Amosun's decision to finally address the seizure of the presidential aircraft has brought much-needed attention to the underlying issues that have been brewing beneath the surface of Nigeria's political landscape. His remarks suggest that the seizure was not merely a matter of legal or administrative concern, but might also be tied to deeper political rivalries and power struggles. By choosing to speak out, Amosun has positioned himself as a key voice advocating for transparency and fairness in how government actions are carried out. His statements could potentially influence how similar matters are handled in the future, especially as Nigeria continues to navigate its complex political environment. Amosun also urged the government to prioritize the rule of law and avoid any actions that might appear politically motivated. This call for integrity in governance resonates with a broader public sentiment that is increasingly wary of political decisions that seem to serve narrow interests rather than the common good. The former governor's intervention has sparked renewed calls from various quarters for a more accountable and less politicized approach to governance, especially in how state assets and resources are managed. On the issue of the kidnapping in Benue, the situation has escalated as the families of the abducted medical students continue to live in fear and uncertainty. The authorities have intensified their efforts to track down the gunmen and secure the release of the students, but as days pass, the anxiety grows. The kidnappings have once again exposed the vulnerabilities within Nigeria's security apparatus, especially in regions where criminal groups operate with alarming impunity. The abduction has also had a chilling effect on the educational community in Benue and beyond, with many students and parents expressing fears about continuing education in such a perilous environment. This incident is part of a broader security crisis that has been gradually escalating in Nigeria, with kidnappings becoming an all-too-common occurrence. The government's response to these kidnappings has often been criticized as inadequate, with many citizens feeling that more proactive measures are needed to prevent such tragedies from happening in the first place. The kidnapping of the medical students is particularly troubling given the vital role that healthcare professionals play in society, and their loss, even temporarily, represents a significant blow to the community. Furthermore, this incident has reignited debates on the state of security in Nigeria, with many arguing that the government must do more to protect its citizens. There have been calls for more investment in security infrastructure, better training for law enforcement, and greater collaboration between state and federal agencies to tackle the menace of kidnapping. Additionally, there is a growing demand for policies that address the root causes of insecurity, such as poverty, unemployment, and the proliferation of arms among non-state actors. As both these issues, the aircraft seizure and the Benue kidnappings, continue to unfold, they serve as stark reminders of the complex challenges facing Nigeria. They underscore the need for strong, principled leadership and effective governance to navigate the country through these turbulent times. Amosun's statements and the tragic kidnapping in Benue highlight the interconnectedness of political stability, security, and the well-being of citizens. The country now looks to its leaders to not only provide solutions but to inspire confidence that Nigeria can overcome these challenges and build a more secure and just society for all.
Former Ogun State Governor Senator Amosun is clearing the air on the controversy surrounding the seizure of Nigeria's presidential jets in France. Reports last week showed that a French court had seized 3 jets owned by the Nigerian government amid a long-standing dispute with a Chinese company. The authorities in Nigeria have fiercely condemned the seizure of its planes, suggesting that Zhongshan had a sole objective of undercutting and scamming an African government. However, Amosun, who was the governor when the deal was struck between the state government and the Chinese firm, in a statement described the firm as an imposter. His statement reads in part, there are claims and counterclaims as to who between the two was the lawful representative of the original joint venturer, Guangdong Province, China, and consequently who had the right to manage the zone. Unknown to Ogun State government at the time, Zhongfu International Investment FXC merely sought to demarket China Africa Investment FXC and to covet the state-owned assets of the Guangdong Province in China, together with the zone ownership and management rights of their business rival. It's also not true that administration sent police or any security agent to harass, intimidate, or beat anyone. If there was any such situation, it must have been from among the disputing rivals in the bid to outdo one another. Stemming from the above, this matter of the Zhongfu International Investment FXC should be treated the way Nigeria treated the P&ID case. There is no basis for negotiation. Now, I'm going to just take a quick tweet from a Nefertiti. She says, Ogun State versus the Chinese is deeper than we thought. Seizing those presidential jets was unavoidable. Nigeria is notorious for violating agreements. It is why Oyibo investors have refused to pour FDIs into Nigeria. Listen to Pat Utomi narrate his own harrowing experience. Now, this tweet from Pat Utomi making the rounds. We'll just take a paragraph. It was a very long one. He says, in the same breath, the economist Pat Utomi alleged that the former governor of Ogun State violated a contract that he entered into with his government. In his tweet on his X handle on Sunday, Utomi claimed that the Chinese company he also faced a similar fate. Now, part of that tweet reads in part, it says it was Governor Amosun's violation of contract terms signed by his predecessor that brought the shame of seizure of jets from the presidential fleet. I hope he's happy at his achievement, and the whole matter is karma at work. The Chinese were not the only victims. One prominent Ogun indigene allegedly committed suicide with similar Amosun action. I too was a victim. Now, I know you've touched on it. You were just in an interview with the former Justice Minister and Attorney General of the Federation, and he shed a bit more light on it. But what do you make of these comments coming from economist Pat Utomi?
Look, it's a free trade zone. This is not something complicated, but of course with Nigeria, all these other matters we have it. Lagos has a free trade zone. The Dangote refinery operates in a free trade zone. So this is something that should be straightforward. The company was contracted to come in here, bring its expertise, set up the infrastructure, and establish this free trade zone between Ogun State. Somewhere along the line, the agreement went awry, and so now we have to let the Court of Arbitration take the matter to the end. But there are questions. Our exclusive guest we had just now, he himself was saying, how could you have signed some of these agreements? So I hope it doesn't go sideways for Ogun State, because at this point, it doesn't look good for the country at all. And Pat Utomi has a point, even though they've replied him. He did say that we have a history of not enforcing agreements. You can see that in the FDI numbers. So yeah, there are questions as to how this thing was, but this is a free trade zone. It should be very straightforward and very simple. We shouldn't be here.
What about you?
All right, so just to balance things, the former governor Ibikunle Amosun has responded to Pat Utomi's claims. He said that, so what Pat Utomi had said was that they had obtained land under the what's that board now, Odua investment in Lagos, and that when during Senator Gbenga Daniel's tenure, then when Senator Ibikunle Amosun came and they're trying to claim that back, he cancelled the contract. But in giving clarity to that, Senator Ibikunle Amosun said they sent people to evaluate the land, and what Mr. Pat Utomi had claimed was about 200 million naira was not accurate, that they evaluated it to have been 50 million naira. In fact, they said 50 million. You couldn't have spent more than 50 million naira. And they tried to, it was smaller than what he had claimed. So that in itself as well was not factual. So there were things around that. So I think in terms of balance, it's important. You know, they always say there are two sides, there are three sides to a story. One side, the other side, and then the truth. So it's important for us to highlight that. It's easy because of a deficit of trust to demonize administrations and say that, oh, governments are irresponsible, or perhaps just cancel contracts without going through due process. But it's also important to investigate the merit of the case and see what actually transpired. If indeed the land was overvalued by Mr. Pat Utomi, then the governor was well within his right to try and negotiate and do that. Definitely. But it doesn't take away that bigger issue around how we sometimes chase away investors by the way that we don't honor, contracts in some cases, and sometimes respect the rule of law. So sometimes that's a case definitely.
I mean, I would have loved to come to you for because of time. If you can just comment very quickly, so we go to the next story.
I'm sorry, I will not be quick.
You have to be quick.
With due respect, I think Ogun State is notorious for things like this. And let's be realistic. We have not even talked about the case of Olokola, free trade zone. Same Ogun States. People had invested in this free trade zone. It went out. In fact, Senator Ibikunle Amosun recently was saying, but don't blame me for Olokola. With Dangote refinery, this same Dangote that we have in Lagos, it was at the fallout of Olokola that he had to come to Lagos. Why is it always Ogun State? I yield the floor.
All right, then. That's a pertinent question.
Okay.
Well, let's move to our next story now, which is a tragic one. More than 20 medical students, as well as a house officer, were kidnapped by gunmen in Benue State. It was gathered that the students from the University of Maiduguri and University of Jos, respectively, were traveling to the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students Annual Convention in Enugu when they were attacked by gunmen around 5:30 p.m. in Otukpo in Benue State. The students were said to be traveling in a convoy of 2 buses and were coming from the northern part of the country before the incident occurred. Benue State Police Command spokesperson SP Catherine Anene confirmed the abduction. Now let's take a few tweets. This one from Visayo Shoyombo says some of the abducted medical students of the universities of Jos and Maiduguri have shared their live locations and external contact. Where are the policemen and soldiers who fired live bullets and tear gas canisters at the End Bad Governance protesters? We need them now. Another tweet from Dr. Saint reads, Dear Prince Moye and Police NG, it's time to show your strength. Nigerians have been kidnapped again. Kindly kit up your men and go to the Benue State bush and do your show of force and rescue these kidnapped victims. Use the same energy you used to track innocent protesters and sponsors to track these bandits. DSSNG, it's time to show your strength. And then finally, this is a tweet put out just this morning by a spokesperson is saying the police has made a press statement on the matter. I don't think we should be discussing or updating the public on our efforts and strategies placed online. That's not necessary, and the aim is to rescue them unhurt. Of course, the Benue State governor has come out to condemn these kidnappings, and even the IGP of police, Kayode Egbetokun, as well, has come out to say that they're going to do everything within their power to bring the students home. But it's been a couple of days now. It happened on Thursday evening. So do you think that the police is moving fast enough? Rufai, we'll start with you.
For me, whatever they do, please, they should do it as much as possible. I think they have a lead already. Since the victims have shared their live location, they can actually go after them and bring these people to book. And like the people were saying, that this is where we want to see their strength. It's not only to use live bullets on protesters and lie that you didn't use live bullets on protesters. This is where we want to see the intelligence. Even they say they've been buying drones, they've been buying police gear and equipment. We want to see results. We are supporting them and we'll praise them when they do well.
All right, let me just say very quickly, that road, Otukpo, I think it's Otukpo location, has been said to be notorious for kidnappings, including high-profile kidnappings. Some local government chairmen, priests, and the likes have been kidnapped there. So it begs the question, what do we do with intelligence like this? Or what do we do with information when a particular portion of a road has been identified as very notorious for kidnapping cases? We didn't need for these 20 medical students to be kidnapped, another incident for the police or the security agents to rise up. What we're looking for a stronger security institution in Nigeria, or agency in Nigeria, is prevention. Rather than then coming to court since Thursday, they've been in captivity.
Because even if they are rescued, the harm has already been done.
It's been done. So I just want to point out that we know these hotspots. We should be able to do something to prevent, occurrence again.